Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Devin, and today, as the summer is approaching, or if you're watching this in the future and it's winter, I think that people care about abs through all seasons of the year. So if you're watching this, I assume that you're trying to get shredded. I'm gonna be breaking down the mechanisms of how you can build your abs up when it comes to training, when it comes to your food intake, when it comes to recovery, all of that. But before we do get into how you can reveal and build your abs, if you are new here, and not subscribed, go ahead and press that subscribe button down below. If you are interested in working together, my website link is gonna be down below as well, or you can also email me at devindiscoaching@gmail.com. I create custom meal plans and custom training plans. I also do one-on-one coaching, and I have some programs that I've already made, such as my MASC Made Simple program, dumbbell only training plan, which you can use if you're training from home, as well as my high protein cookbook, Healthy Doesn't Suck. So you can find all of that in the link down below, right? So the first variable that we're going to be focusing on here is training. A lot of people make this mistake where they're in a caloric deficit, they're getting ready for something, and then they start training their abs. But just like any other muscle group, you want to be training your abs throughout the entirety of the year. What are the best movements to use to train your abs? I don't love body weight movements just because it's hard to apply progressive overload. And remember that progressive overload is the key to building muscle, right? So that's adding weight or that's adding reps. A couple of my favorite loaded ab exercises, meaning that you can add more weight over time, are cable crunches or machine crunches. Now, some machine crunches honestly suck ass. They're not going to get the job done because a huge factor that dictates whether or not your ab training is actually useful, providing your abs the stimulus they need to grow, is spinal flexion. So spinal flexion is when you're rounding your spine, and that's literally flexing your abs. A lot of ab crunch machines don't allow for spinal flexion. They don't allow you to really curve your spine. You're just sort of moving back and forth. And if you ever feel your hip flexors, or if you ever feel your legs when you're doing an ab movement, you're not doing it right and you're not engaging your spine, okay? So keep that in mind. I know that some of us may be training from home. We might not have the ability to do a rope cable crunch or use a crunch machine. I suggest doing either ab wheel rollouts, and you can add a weighted vest to yourself to apply more resistance, or you can also simply do lying leg raises, but make sure that you are rounding your spine and getting your ass off the floor, okay? If you're doing a cable crunch and you've been using the same weight for the past 3 months, well, you're probably not building muscle. I think if you're doing a bench press and using the same weight for 3 months, you're gonna be like, damn, is my chest even growing? And it's the same concept when it comes to your abs. Make sure, even if you're just using that little 2.5 pound plate that most gyms do have, and you're adding that to the weight stack to make it a little bit heavier, make sure that every training session, you're looking back on how many reps you hit, you're looking back on how much weight you used, and you're just trying to expand upon that with quality, right? It's never worth it to add more weight, but the reps are getting sloppy because you're not going to be activating the muscle like you should be. When it comes to the nutrition side of things, I know that a lot of people may think, well, you know what, I'm a little bit bigger, or I might have a little bit of a higher body fat. I don't think it's realistic for me to get abs, and that's not the case. Whether you're coming from the skinny side of the spectrum and you can't see your abs, or you're coming from the heavier side of the spectrum and you can't see your abs, there's pretty much room to meet in the middle. If you're super skinny, you're scrawny, and you're like, I'm really like low body fat, but for some reason I can't see my abs, and it might even make you look like you're at a higher body fat than you actually are. You want to make sure that you apply a caloric increase, right? So you wouldn't expect to build your biceps up when you're eating less food, and you can't expect to build your abs up when you're eating less food as well, right? So take the hit and gain a little bit of body fat so that you can actually build your abs up, and then understand that after you're done with this bulking phase or even a maintenance phase, that when you do cut down in body fat in the future, you will be able to see your abs a bit more, right? So we should never be bulking only for like 1 month, only for like 2 months, because you're just simply not going to be able to see your abs. It takes longer than that to build muscle. And then the same thing goes for people who are a little bit heavier. I have some people that I work with, and they're like, damn, Devin, like I heard that you can only build muscle in a bulk, but since I'm overweight, we're cutting. Am I ever going to see my abs? You're already in a natural state of being in a caloric surplus, right? Because you have that extra nutrient stored in your body fat. It's almost the same idea as someone who has to bulk to build muscle, right? So that's like a really positive way to look at it, at least in my opinion. As long as you don't crash diet yourself, you can build muscle while losing fat. And a lot of people are like, well, you can't do those two things at once. You're in a caloric surplus if you're at a higher body fat. So you don't need to bulk if you're already at a higher body fat, because your body is already in like a naturally bulk state, right? Realistically, you are gonna have to diet at some point to see your abs, unless you just have great genetics and you probably are not watching this video because you're like, I don't need to watch that video because I already have abs. You're gonna have to cut at some point to see your abs. But a big mistake that I see from people, and oftentimes people will diet themselves into the ground, they reach out to me for coaching, they're like, hey, you know, I lost like 30 pounds in X amount of months, but for some reason I look worse now than I did before. What's going on? A lot of people are too freaking aggressive with their dieting phase, and in turn, they lose a lot of the muscle that they built up while they were bulking. So there's a couple of things things that you can do to ensure that you don't lose the muscle mass that you built in your bulk. Part of that muscle mass that would have been lost are your abs, right? So The first thing is continue to train with the same level of intensity, right? A lot of us are like going Super Saiyan mode when we're bulking. We're just ready to go. We have all this energy, we have all this glycogen, and our training is just, on top of the world. And then when we start to diet, our brains get a little bit softer and we're like, damn, I don't feel like I'm as strong. You can't have that mindset. You have to just do the best that you can to maintain your working weight or even progress, right? Just be smart and don't overtrain and don't expect to lose muscle mass. Another thing is cutting your calories too fast, too soon, too hard. You don't have to like slash your calories in half unless you're going super dirty bulk mode. You don't have to do any crazy caloric slashing. Really be smart and bias your carb intake and your protein intake, your highest meals around training. If you're not in a very low deficit, this doesn't make the biggest difference in the world. But if you're like dieting and you're hungry for real, it makes the most sense to schedule your calories and your highest meals around your training so that your body can use all those nutrients, all that surplus of energy. If you're dieting too hard, if you're not giving yourself refeeds as needed, if you're looking flat, you're just gonna look soft. You're not gonna retain a lot of muscle and you're just gonna look like a stick figure, right? The last thing I want to talk about is the time period that it takes to see your abs, right? This varies for every single person. I have some clients that I work with, in a matter of 3 months, we're able to see their abs, right? Some people I work with, then after 2 years, we're able to see their abs. The biggest fuck up that you can do is compare yourself to other people. You have to just stay the course and not look over at somebody else, right? If you're telling yourself like, damn, I'm fucking up, I'm not doing the right thing, this person's doing this and they're getting better results, and you switch things up every 2 seconds, you're just not giving your body the chance to adapt and get stronger at whatever it is you're doing. Stay the course and just compare your progress to how you were looking a couple months ago, right? If you compare your progress from 6 months ago and you look the same, well then shit, maybe something does have to change. Don't try to rush the process by doing things like, drastically cutting your calories or training 7 days a week or, training abs 2 times a day every single day of the week, because you're just gonna overtrain yourself. You're gonna fuck up your energy and you're gonna turn yourself into a zombie, and it's gonna ruin your relationship with food. It's gonna ruin your relationship with training. It's better to see slow progress over a long extended period of time. If it takes you a year instead of 3 months to see that progress, then that time is worth spending, right? Like I said, if you are interested in working together, definitely you can either email me or check out my website. Also follow me on Instagram. We finally hit 30K, which is dope. My Instagram is gonna be linked down below as well. And like I always say, Devin loves you. Devin's a Don. Devin is out of here, boy.